Saudi youth, the young generation, and halal beer. Westernization or degeneration. Well, instead of shedding some light on it, I would better leave it to our expert analysts, Jack and Wilson. Again, please hit like and subscribe to spread the word, and if you want to be part of Dawah, spreading the word of Allah all over the world, hit the join button or click the thanks icon. Hey Jack and Wilson, please let us know your thoughts.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are undertaking a fascinating and pretty controversial exploration.
We are.
It's about a topic that at first glance you might think is trivial, a cafe serving a certain kind of drink.
Right.
But according to the sources we've looked at, this is actually a huge cultural flashpoint. It signals some of the, most profound shifts happening in Saudi Arabia right now.
That's absolutely right. What we have here is this powerful collection of notes and articles, and they all focus on the extreme tension between this rapid state-driven modernization.
Vision 2030, basically.
Exactly, Vision 2030, and the fierce resistance coming from these deeply held cultural and religious values. The sources we've synthesized offer a very strong, sometimes almost alarmed, perspective on what this looks like on the ground.
So our mission today is really to unpack the full weight of this huge controversy around a seemingly minor thing, the introduction of halal beer in a Riyadh cafe. We need to understand not just that it's controversial, but what it signals about the future cultural direction of, one of the most historically conservative nations in the Muslim world. It's a real litmus test.
It's a remarkable case study. It shows how one seemingly small change focused on aesthetics, on atmosphere, can expose this colossal societal fault line. It triggers a debate that's ultimately about cultural sovereignty.
Okay, let's unpack this. So the catalyst for this whole intense nationwide debate was, surprisingly simple.
Very simple.
According to all the reports we've compiled from the Arabic newsroom and other platforms, it started when a cafe in Riyadh began serving a non-alcoholic drink.
And they marketed it explicitly as halal beer.
Exactly.
And the presentation, as you said, that's the critical detail here. That's what moved it from just a beverage choice to a public controversy.
It wasn't like they were serving juice or soda.
Not at all.
Oh.
The source material details how it was specifically designed to mimic the full aesthetic, the whole ritual of drinking real beer.
It was served in bottles and glasses that were, visually identical to the real thing?
Identical, and then there's the setting itself.
Right, the cafe. It doubled down on this intentional imitation. The Arabic newsroom platform described it as being styled like a full European pub.
Dim lights, heavy wood.
A big screen showing sports matches, and even peanuts on the tables. It was all deliberately crafted to feel like a Western nightlife spot.
An atmosphere that just, it didn't exist in Riyadh before this.
You see the contradiction right there.
Immediately. You have the calculated creation of a European pub environment, the whole ritual, the look, the feeling.
That's right in the heart of Riyadh.
And the only Saudi twist is that the alcohol content is zero. It's the ultimate mimicry, just without the actual substance.
So what was the immediate social response?
It was completely split, just a total contradiction.
The sources highlight this massive uproar, shock, deep criticism.
Especially from the middle-aged and older, more conservative citizens.
But at the same time, they also noted that young people were, and this is a quote, competing with one another to try it.
It became instantly aggressively trendy.
That competition to try it, to post about it, that's the first real sign of the deep societal split we need to look at.
It is. The debate just fractured immediately into these two distinct camps.
You have those who focus only on the technical fact, zero alcohol.
And then you have those who see the whole visual exercise as, a zeroing out of cultural values.
Let's start with the defense then, the perspective from the youth.
Okay.
The young Saudis interviewed at the cafe were, almost all of them just shrugged off the controversy. They focus entirely on the technical legality.
They take this very technical, almost legalistic view. We see quotes like, I have no problem with it, neither the way it looks nor its taste, as long as its alcohol percentage is zero. It is fine.
It's just a drink.
To them, it's just a drink. It's a commodity. And if that one technical prohibition marker isn't there, it has no moral or cultural weight.
But the conservative backlash from the middle-aged population and the source authors is just fierce. They see that defense as missing the entire point.
They see it as something far more damaging. They view it as a targeted effort, like it's actively planting love for beer in young minds.
By normalizing the look and feel of it?
Yes, conditioning them. They accuse this trend of setting up young people to become, as they put it, slaves to the Western ideology.
And this gets us to the core analysis in our source material. They argue the real issue is not the beverage itself, but the mindset behind it. The goal is for these cafes to look like Western pubs because the kingdom wants to project a modern image.
And this is where we have to bring in this deeper cultural mechanic, the theological principle of preventing evil means. In Islamic law, it's often called sad ad-darai.
So it's not just about appearances.
No, it's fascinating. The critics aren't just saying this looks bad. They're arguing that imitating the forms of a prohibited act, the atmosphere, the glass, the style, is itself prohibited because it's a stepping stone. It's a means toward the actual sin.
So the form itself is seen as a danger because it lowers the psychological barrier.
Precisely.
The whole debate over a drink is really a stand-in for this much larger argument about the cultural shifts being pushed under Vision 2030.
Exactly. Vision 2030 is designed to, radically diversify the economy. And to do that, you need to create global cities that can attract international tourism, investment, and spending.
And you can't be a global entertainment hub if your cities don't have the kind of social atmospheres that visitors and wealthy young citizens expect.
Which creates this immense pressure to mimic success models from places like Dubai or London or New York, even if it means installing halal pubs.
That context is just essential. It explains the why behind the mimicry. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The source material sees this whole halal pub idea not as some isolated incident, but as the latest step in a much larger long-term pattern of just wholesale adoption of Western values.
The authors frame it as a calculated progression, a kind of cultural engineering, and they list previous shifts as evidence of this pattern.
Right. They bring up the successful push for women to drive independently. Critics at the time saw that as directly adopting a key model of Western female independence.
And that was a major shift that signaled this desire for sort of external validation.
Then the focus shifts to appearance and entertainment. The sources point directly to the rapid emergence of high fashion shows in Riyadh.
Things that were described as unheard of and unimaginable even 5 years ago. It fundamentally changed the boundaries of public modesty.
And then, most controversially, the desire for these massive public concerts.
With free mixing, dancing, and specifically Western performers.
They cite people like Jennifer Lopez being invited repeatedly, and they note this profound underlying concern that prominent Muslim performers are seen as not good enough.
And that critique is so profound. It isn't just about entertainment. It's about whose culture matters. The concern in the sources is that the society is seeking validation from Hollywood rather than Allah.
If you need a Western pop star to legitimize your entertainment scene, you're prioritizing their cultural standards over your own.
And if we connect that right back to the halal pub, the analysis is perfectly consistent.
Right.
The belief is that for a city to be seen as modern, to meet the goals of V2030, even a simple drink or a public space has to conform to those external Western standards.
The whole atmosphere has to be replicated perfectly, down to the peanuts on the table.
And that imitation, the conservative authors argue, leads straight into their core fear, the warning of the slippery slope.
They stress that real cultural change is gradual. It's not done by rewriting scripture, it's done by changing the social environment.
This argument is all about normalization.
The gradual degradation, as they see it, starts with accepting the aesthetics.
Absolutely. The steps they warn against are laid out with chilling precision. First, the look of beer gets normalized with the identical bottles and glasses.
Step 1, which is already complete.
Already done. Next, they say the smell of alcohol will inevitably be normalized in public spaces as other restrictions loosen.
And the final step in this progression. The sources warn that society will eventually be debating the idea of a drink with just a little percentage of alcohol.
They see this trend as building the social acceptance needed for that future debate to even happen.
And the ultimate fear is that this could lead to a situation where the holiest land in the Muslim world is debating whether light alcohol is okay.
All because the aesthetics were normalized years earlier. It's a process of conditioning the youth through these visual cues.
And the youth are eager to participate, it seems, all for trendiness. The sources note that for young people, holding something resembling a beer for a photo op is the new way to say, look, I'm trendy and totally ready for the West.
It's an easy visual shorthand for social media. It signals that you're modern, you're globally aligned.
But critics see that as so corrosive. It makes an Islamic identity feel fundamentally incompatible with being modern.
Right. And the source material warns that if a Muslim society copies the West in everything, clothing, nightlife, entertainment, It will eventually imitate the West's abandonment of faith.
And the terrifying consequence from that conservative view is that traditional Islam will just start to feel old-fashioned to the younger generation.
Especially when their aspirations are being defined by these external cultural models.
This is where the sources provide some really profound context. They frame this not just as a social disagreement, but as a recurring spiritual battle.
To explain the gradual ascent, they pivot directly to theological warnings about how degradation happens slowly, subtly, through imitation.
They use a Quranic warning about Satan's methods to frame the whole shift.
Yeah.
The argument is that this isn't a sudden break from faith, but a slow, calculated undermining. Satan takes one step at a time.
And the specific passage they mention describes how Satan will lie in ambush and approach people from their front, their back, their right, their left, leading them away from gratefulness.
It's a spiritual analogy that frames a debate over a cafe's decor as part of a much older battle.
Fought through cultural details and social pressure.
And on top of that, they cite a really important prophetic tradition, a hadith, to underscore this fear of imitation.
The prophecy states, "You will surely follow the ways of those before you handspan by handspan and arm length by arm length, until if they entered a lizard's hole, you would follow them."
Wow.
And the source material highlights the stark clarification that came next. When the prophet was asked if this meant the Jews and the Christians, the dominant cultures of the time, he replied simply, "Who else?"
So that directly links this modern cultural mimicry to a prophesied warning about abandoning your own identity.
Your own unique, divinely guided identity in favor of adopting external cultural norms.
The ultimate fear these critics summarize is that this whole process just changes everything. The lifestyle, the culture, the morals, until Islam becomes just a title.
Something you follow only because our parents were born into this religion, not because it's an active moral compass shaping your daily life.
The debate isn't about intoxication, it's about integrity. So what does this all mean? The non-alcoholic beer controversy really acts as this incredibly efficient flashpoint. It just illustrates the deep chasm between the state's modernization efforts and the powerful, theologically grounded resistance fighting to preserve its identity.
And the key takeaway for you, the listener, is to recognize how the cultural conversation has shifted. I mean, a decade ago, the big fights were over clear prohibitions, like women driving.
Policy issues.
Right, policy issues. Today, the core fight is over culturally sensitive mimicry, like these halal pubs. It shows the complex, nuanced ways traditional values are being tested under the pressure of global influence.
It's the difference between fighting a law and fighting a vibe.
That's a great way to put it.
It is the conflict between external validation and internal fidelity, playing out over a glass of fizzy water.
Precisely. And if we build on this idea of external validation, you should consider this final thought. Where does the desire for validation from Hollywood or global culture, defining your success only by how closely you resemble external models, where does that lead a culture in the next decade?
When tradition is seen as just an obstacle to economic success, how much of that tradition can ultimately survive?
That is the complex and really the existential question now facing Saudi Arabia.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. I hope you've gained some valuable insights. If you're a truth seeker, yearning for divine light and ready to step out of darkness, now is your moment. The truth is that Allah is the one and only creator of the universe. He has sent over 124,000 messengers and prophets to guide humanity, starting with Adam and culminating with the final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. If you resonate with this message, you might be ready to embrace Islam. Simply recite the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. For further support, feel free to join our WhatsApp group. You can send us a private message there. The link is in the video description. Don't wait until it's too late. We look forward to connecting with you soon.